Hey y'all, this is Irene, Last Borough Standing podcast. We are live in the Bronx at the waterfront. I don't know the name of the waterfront, but we in one of the gentrified buildings. We in front of one of the nice ones.
Bankside.
We in front of Bankside. This feature is going to be about mental health. If you guys didn't know, every July is BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month, which is Black, Indigenous, People of Color. BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month is celebrated in July to raise awareness of the unique mental health challenges faced by racial and ethnic people of color in the U.S. It's also known as the National Minorities Mental Health Awareness Month. So I'm going to be interviewing a few men from the Bronx about their mental health. But before we start, I just wanted to put out some stats about mental health, specifically about New York and about the Bronx. So, according to the Mayor's Office of Community Mental Health, 1 in 5 New Yorkers experience mental illness in a given year. There's a mental health data dashboard that shows that Black, Latinx, and Asian American and Pacific Islander New Yorkers are less likely to be connected to mental health care than white New Yorkers. Connection to mental health care differs significantly by neighborhood. There were 3 neighborhoods with the lowest connection to mental health care, and I did see Northeast Bronx as being one of them. And I am going to drop the link for this information on this post or during this episode so you guys can reference that. Among youth with mental health needs, males are less likely to be connected to mental health care across all races and ethnicities. The highest poverty neighborhoods have over twice as many psychiatric hospitalizations per capita as the lowest poverty neighborhoods in New York City. Now, as you guys know, this is a Bronx podcast, so I do want to highlight Bronx residents and their mental health. The Bronx does have a long history as a medically designated undeserved area or having just a shortage of providers. The health disparities in the Bronx include 40% of people on public assistance, 41% living below the poverty line, 50% of children living in poverty, 20% of residents lacking health insurance, and 75% increase in homelessness since 2002. According to NYC.gov, the following groups identify of having SPD, which is also known as serious psychological distress, is a term to describe the feelings of people who have recently been having problems functioning due to negative emotional or mental experiences. SPD is not a diagnosis, but it is a good way to understand how large groups of people have been feeling within the past 30 days. It represents people who have been experiencing mental health symptoms, but it doesn't say whether they do or do not have a mental illness. Okay. So an estimated 541,000 adult New Yorkers had SPD in 2023. This percentage was 14% in 2022, and then 6% in 2020, and 5% in 2019. But as expected, COVID-19 did impact a lot of people's mental health, and so that percentage has gone up over the years. Neighborhoods with higher concentrations of poverty have a greater prevalence of SPD than wealthier neighborhoods. This is because the wealth of a neighborhood affects environmental and social factors that can then affect one's mental health. Things that contribute to mental health includes economic stability, education, access and quality, neighborhood and physical environment, discrimination and abuse, social isolation, interactions with the legal system, traumatic life experiences, which can also be due to discrimination and just general incarceration.
Yes.
So, I wanted to interview Black men from the Bronx, specifically on this episode, because I know that last month was Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and there hasn't really been a highlight on men's mental health. So, I'm going to introduce my first interviewee, Perrin. I know y'all seen him in that viral reel. We went viral a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
So, Perrin, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your background? What part of the Bronx you from?
Okay, I'm from Wakefield.
Uptown.
Uptown, exactly. I grew up in that section. What else do I do?
You do a lot.
I do a lot. I grew to actually love my borough over time. We are in a chaotic state of mental health. We are in a chaotic state of finance. and try to understand what economics can actually do for us as a people. There's still the ignorance towards it and the fear towards it because there's not a real understanding towards it as well, you know. But that's something that I feel like it will take time. Can't rush it too much, but I feel like we should be firm to tell people right now we actually have to get it together. There's nobody here to cradle us. I think the Bronx has been the cradle borough for so long. I feel like we've just been very cradled. And so now that everything is changing, everybody is scared. You know, because I think, and people said they thought, oh, it's just Brooklyn. Oh, it's just Queens. Oh, it's just Manhattan. I'm like, yeah, but we're the last borough standing. You know, so I feel like this might light a fire under people's behind the new changes, but I feel like this might be a civil war between our borough because there's people that actually understand economics and want growth and change versus the ones that don't understand it and destroy things out of fear, which isn't really going to help the situation anyway because it's still going to change whether you like it or not.
Okay. Well, thank you for that introduction. So, I'm going to jump into mental health.
All right.
What does mental health mean to you?
Mental health means to me lots of self-healing. Some people don't understand that when mental health is, you really got to start from you first, then working your way out. Why do I feel like this? I don't like feeling like this. You have to find out what are the triggers. Once you find out the triggers, things start making sense. I had to start making sense of humans actually trigger you. Even when you work on yourself, it happened to me 2 years ago. People that are not, I could say, emotionally intelligent and really not there, their anxiety rubs off on you. And then when you snap, you're the problem. So when I had to figure out the people around me, when you sit in silence, you just go, oh, it's really not me. There's other people that's actually messed up psychologically and it's not you. So when you study in your mental health, you got to figure out what's the triggers. Like my trigger is always anxiety. I didn't know why I had the trigger of anxiety.
Right.
The root of it was my mother. My mother was the root of my anxiety because she wants things like this. And my psychiatrist told me at the age of 21, it's my mother, after I had to explain to him. After that, still to this day, it's going on, 13 years later? I look at my mom is the root of my anxiety because she's very bombarding. And when you snap, again, you're crazy. I don't understand, but it's like you're pushy. You trigger me. Friends that are disrespectful and do things behind your back, it still plays a part with your mental health and your emotions because it's like you disrespected me. You said you understand, but you keep disrespecting me. That's when your body is tense. So mental health, when you start to understand it, you have to actually self-heal. You have to find a new tribe of people who are emotionally intelligent. That's a big thing when it comes to mental health. People that are emotionally intelligent. If you're not around people like that, it will set you crazy. It will set you off. I'm gonna be honest, even with my stepfather, still to this day, I can't talk to him. He's very irate. And I just said, well, I can't talk to him at all. He just has to stay away from me. And he's one of those people that like to keep pushing you. So when you find out, again, when it comes to mental health, it comes to certain people, it could come to noises, it comes to what kind of music, entertainment that you like.
Certain smells. There's so many different triggers that could set off an emotional episode. Or like, it doesn't even necessarily, sometimes it is people, but other times it could be the seasons. Like around the fall, I get a little sad. I get a little sad when it gets cold outside. It could be certain life events that happens, 9/11, COVID.
Yes.
Like there are so many other factors that can play into someone's mental and emotional health. You know, but I do understand where you come from when you say like people can fuck with your mental health because they really can.
You got a job, you understand what I'm talking about. Those bosses, those co-workers.
Toxic and work environments can impact your mental health.
Make you feel suicidal because that boss or the workers, you're not doing good enough. And then sometimes you don't even know. You may, I would say like, you don't even know you have ADHD, but people are talking down on you. So you feel like you are worthless. that messes up with your mental health, because it's like, I can't get nothing right. What am I good for?
Yeah.
That plays in your head. I think I need to quit this job. I want to die. Nothing's good for me.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's something that plays especially a big part in Bronx sites, South Bronx sites, low income neighborhoods as well, because the families do not help. The friends do not help. I could say our environment is toxic because our people aren't very open with mental health, their sexuality, a whole bunch of factors in the community that I could say they, ignorant things like, oh, you acting crazy. It's like, I'm depressed. Why are you depressed? That's a white people thing. I think I'm curious with the same sex. Ooh, get away from me. These things add on over time. And I've noticed within our community, we think we got it together because we always look at the others, something wrong with them. And it's like, actually, something's wrong with us because we're not talking about it. We don't really nurture each other like we supposed to.
Yeah.
There's
also so many, when you talk about environment and neighborhood, there's also economic factors that come into play too. And like just the way, especially the way the South Bronx was set up. I know you know more about the Bronx than I do, but knowing about redlining and the construction of the highways and just certain things that were put in place to limit people of color, and like just having, like, I'm sure there's mental effects from that too, you know what I mean? Not having access to go from one neighborhood to the next, or being isolated and having to stress about, oh, I can't take a train to work because there's no train line by me, because when you go into like even the way transportation was set up, but that's a whole other conversation for another, but you know what, you get what I mean? All right, y'all, we moved to we moved to the front of the water, if you're curious as to why the background changed. All right, so going back into this, you mentioned your own mental health, and I know you also mentioned, people in your family. I always try to have grace with the older generation, especially like I have a Caribbean background, and I know that the concept of mental health and therapy is not something that is amplified in our culture. It's not something that's normalized. Like if you like are depressed or you have something going on with you, it's completely dismissed. It's like, why you sad? Why you crying? You got to go read a book. Like you're not, able to really talk out your emotions, process your emotions, go to therapy. Like that's just something that's not normalized, especially in the Caribbean culture. So I always try to say, like, you know what, like, there are times where like our parents or family members, they might induce our anxiety and stuff like that. But I'm also like, they probably have their own set of trauma that we probably don't even know about, and it's unresolved and it's not processed. So then it comes out in projection towards us. So I always try to like remember that, like, and keep that in mind. Like, all right, I'm gonna just give you grace. Yes. Because I know you probably didn't get the healing that you needed.
But at the same time, you can't be overly graceful.
No, of course not. You still gotta have boundaries for sure. But I always like, try to be cognizant about that. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially if they're in the 80s. It's like, now I feel like parents are different.
Yeah. Because
it's like I told you. Yeah. I've been telling you since I was a kid. And it's dismissive. So that's why this generation, we separate ourselves from our parents. We could deal with the grandmother, because it's like you're 80 or something, whatever. But when it comes to your parents, it totally feels different, because it's like, I already told you, and you really don't care, and it hurts more because you're closer to me. It's like, I know I cried to you when I told you this, then you do go back and do it again.
Do you think we should try to normalize family therapy too?
For us in our new generation, the past, no, can't. Like I said before, my stepfather, I was like, I'm about to be 40 in 4 years. I've been doing it since I was 4. I don't want to keep doing this. I cut off lots of other people and friends and other family members. I don't need to deal with you either.
Yeah.
And it even goes with friends as well. You could be gracious to a point, but if that friend does not, same thing like your parents as well, keep going back and you gotta leave them. Because it's not healthy. I get everybody's friends. Everybody wants to be cute and gracious, but
What are some common mental health challenges you think men in the Bronx face?
Men make up their own scenarios in their head, which makes it even worse. So now you're depressed, but you don't want to tell nobody because you look like a punk, You can't cry because you a pussy. I have to use that word, I'm sorry. You can't use that. You probably are confused about your sexuality. Now you're holding on to that. Then men are the worst because they put so much in their head. And it could be, to me, it's little things because I don't care about nobody. Like, I don't worry about, all this other stuff. But men got to be black men and Latino men, but especially I could say black men, are peer pressured to be this hardcore
Macho.
thing. So you got to be this ego wherever you go. You can't express anything. Like, it was, do you know the OnlyFans guy? His name is Jimmy. So it was like 2-3 years ago. He did content with a trans woman, gay fellatio on her. His gay friends, why would you do that? You gay? Oh my God, son, we be up and down the block. That I can't have you around me because you making me look like this. Yo, I do. And it's like, and he was like, so, like, then you're not my friends.
Yeah.
But it was like they were coming at him, nigga, you gay? So it's like,
yeah.
I could say he was strong in that, but when I saw, he said, I don't care. He said, I don't care versus other dudes. If you find out your friends in the closet, yo, you gay, I don't want you near me because you may want me. And it's like, I even want to still go through that to this day. Like I was saying, I told Irene, I really be wanting to talk business, especially with black men. I want to uplift them. First thing is, I'm not gay, right? That ruins my whole like concentration because it's like I'm having a serious conversation. I even asked to hang out this guy at the gym. I'm disappointed. It didn't hurt me, but it's like I look at him in disgust. He's like in his 60s. He felt offended because he thought I wanted to have sex with him. That's not even in my head.
Yikes.
And then you come in, and then it's like I just saw him last week for the first time in 2 months, and he's giving me a dirty look. So you're giving, again, it's all, you made everything much worse in here.
Yeah.
You make the little things much worse. And I could even say, like, with this times I have to tell some guys, it's like, it's okay to be yourself, especially around me. It takes some time for dudes, like literally, but actually I had some hood dudes tell me like, yo, you really helped me. I said, yeah, stop, you're caring about nothing. When I find out something you told me, I'm like, that's it? Like, that's what you was upset? No. And then the scenario is, cause I thought you was gonna think this and you was gonna I said, you thought I was gonna do you was doing stuff in your head and I'm over here like, how am I eat? Well, I forget about people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like you care about what other people think about your ego and your image so bad, it really hurts you further on. And then as you get older, even with my ex, I don't want to be with you. You're not secure with who you are in general, not even sexually. I don't want to be around it. It's so much insecurity. To the point where people give up on you, where it's like, this is too much for me, because you want to yell at me, you want to fight me, you want to punch me, because of all the pented up stuff you have. And you're going to get to that point, and I see with most black men, when they get to their late 60s and 70s and the kids ain't there, they like, no girl wants me, nobody want me, because
they get lonely and then they start to think and reflect on their life because there's nothing else to keep them stimulated.
Yes.
I also know that within the LGBTQ community, there's also another layer of stress and mental health issues that come from just the ignorance of people and the things that they do and say, So I also know that that's an added layer.
Yeah, they're not nice to each other either, because some people think like, oh, don't your gay community come together? No, not at all. You might find a little pack, but no, it's still catty. It's, ooh, look at her feet, look at this one, it's just unnecessary. And that's another thing, goes back to mental health too. When I first came out at 17, it was safe space, and this is 2007, 2008. When I got into that space, and then they was making fun of me too and talking about what I looked like, it was at that point, I could say that's the second point, because the first one was like, I had to accept myself as gay, I had to tell my mother, then go into another group, and then they're talking to me all kind of ways and nasty. At that point, I was like, there's no such thing as a safe space, I have to make my own, which made me stronger. Most people can't do that. Like, they have to be around people to feel something. I don't have to be around nobody to feel nothing. I've been around people, as I said, messed up my emotions even more and my mental even more. Yeah. To the point where you really gotta love yourself. When you love yourself more, your mental health is even better.
Amen. You mentioned making your own safe space, that goes into my next question. So like, what are some of the ways that you cope with stress and your own mental health challenges? What are some coping mechanisms? Because we all have our different coping mechanisms, and some people, like, I mean healthy ones, because some people, they drink a lot, they might smoke a lot, there are things that they do that aren't really the healthiest, and it can also amplify mental health symptoms and stuff like that. So what are some positive coping mechanisms that you practice in terms of your own mental health?
Well, when I went through my panic attack, I was 21, and I started hearing voices in my head, and everything's coming back now. I wasn't sleeping, my doctor told me. I was hearing voices in my head. I was paranoid, and I didn't know why. And again, of course, your parents, you're crazy. And so I'm throwing stuff. But I spoke with my psychiatrist. He said, what made you happy? How to think about it. You probably already know. I was thinking really hard. I was like, well, I love Disney World. He was like, what about Disney World that you like? I was like, I felt happy. It was the happiest place. As a kid, and we went every summer, I felt happy. I felt like I was in a mythical place. Literally, that's the whole point of immersion. And he said, why don't you go? I was like, I can't go. I'm not without my family.
Yeah.
He's like, does it not giving you stress? I was like, yeah. I was like, it's expensive. He was like, you don't even know. Why don't you try? Tell you, I went to Disney World by myself and Universal Studios. I had a blast by my damn self. I
Them
was
solo
like,
trips, man. I did 2 solo trips. I love my
22, 23.
My own energy. I move on my own.
It was my first time doing it by myself.
It's healing.
I didn't know it would be healing. I was like, I could walk around butt naked, and I had a whole resort. So I had
on your own.
I was like, I'm here.
You don't gotta worry about nobody else.
Oh my God, I still got money. I don't have to ask nobody for money.
Yeah.
But also too is music. All right. The music that you listen to, I could say this generation don't get it, but you're angry, but you don't know why.
They angry and they listen to trap music as soon as they wake up.
Trap is drill music. You're listening to you're not really listening. That sound is very toxic. It makes my spirit nasty. You may not understand it now, but when you're at your lowest point and you end up listening to Beethoven by accident, oh my goodness, it is like rubbing your G-spot in your ear. And I had to start thinking about my mother, what she likes to listen to. Yeah. And I had to think about growing up, because I'm diverse as hell. And my family, I'm going to go with my great-grandfather's side. He's Surinamese from Suriname. My family was not allowed to listen to American music, thank God. So my great aunt, because again in Suriname, either you listen to Dutch, I wouldn't say salsa, because salsa wasn't out back then, but it was mostly Latin or boleros. It was boleros, Italian, Korean, Hindu. You Jamaican, we listen to the same thing.
Yep.
So in my childhood, being around my elders, that's what we would listen to, right? My mom is more salsa. My mom is more, she got neo soul because it was 90s. I wouldn't say so much R&B of the 80s because that wasn't her thing, but she's sal soul. If you know the genre or the record label sal soul, which is basically soul music with salsa mixed together with beautiful singers, you know what I mean, like Layla Hathaway and stuff. Listening to different music, you can actually see everything in the world with the music. It's beautiful. So me, I had to go back to listening to Sade. Cherish the Day is my go-to song. When I feel stressed out and there was times I wanted to die, I had to put that song in my ear. Cherish the day, I won't go astray. Because I would get so depressed, I want to die. And I would listen to Cherish the Day, and it reminds me of my mother, because she would play certain songs she don't even know. Parents be playing music and don't know. And I love the video because it captures New York in the 90s with Sade on top of the building, and it's the summer. So you already know the summer breeze in New York if you ever took the Staten Island ferry or
It's a
been
vibe.
downtown,
Yeah.
New York City is the most beautiful vibe in the summer. A concrete jungle, but the way she captured the essence, I can identify as a New Yorker.
Yeah.
In the jungle of chaos, there was peace. And I bring that even onto my page of The Bronx is Beautiful. If some of you don't know, I put that in my profile so you can actually see the Bronx and how I see it. You know?
That's a good answer. Music is such a good healing. Like, even sometimes I be putting on frequencies in the house. It don't even got lyrics or jazz, but then I do tap into like my gospel, my conscious reggae, like certain things with that lyrical content to kind of give me those words of affirmation through the music. So I totally get where you're coming from.
Oh, and also too, I was going to say, like, I don't go to all these new concerts and stuff like that. I already know a certain group of people that's gonna go. It's a low vibe. I don't care. It's a low vibrational group of people. Because if I have to go when you're just smoking weed and you just zoned out like this, and it's like you feel the aura, somebody wants to fight. There's no need in fighting, but people are on guard to pop off. Isn't good versus me going somewhere where they're playing house, jazz, salsa. Samba is my joint. Like, I love samba. My mom, she loves samba. I thank my mom a lot for different genres of music, and even though my stepfather's annoying, he's a DJ. So
you have a diverse music palette.
Yes. So he's Black American. So he played he'll play his 80s, 90s music. My mother wasn't playing 80s, 90s music, and he put us on to Motown as a child, and that wasn't being played in my house like that before he came. So it's like, I hated it as a kid, but now you old, it's like, I remember those road trips when you go to his family reunions. I like this, you know. And then I could say my father, he was old school hip hop, so it would be some brand Nubian, Black Moon, those stuff. So he was different, you know. So those songs stay in my head, and it pleasures me mentally and spiritually.
I love that. What changes would you like to see in terms of mental health in the Bronx? Like, how do you think mental health awareness can be improved in the Bronx?
Well,
or in New York?
I want to start with the Bronx. The Bronx, right? Because we're poor, we're Black, we don't know nothing, we don't have nothing, we need help, right? My plan is to actually have the whole Bronx closed from on every Friday from May to late September. Why? People who have businesses and things like that could also pitch in, but to teach classes on cooking, if you have a business like, you know, salsa con fuego, you know, things like that. Block parties. It's going to have to be community outward bound events. People could do yoga. I feel like it also gives job opportunities. People could start their little business. It may be one day out the week for 4 months, but I feel like that's even a stepping stone for people of the Bronx to be like, mental health helped me, and now I got this powerhouse now. Because little things like that really make a difference. It's going to be something Bronxites look forward to. You know, the schools will be down 4 days a week. Also, too, I feel like for the Bronx, I really want to get a sanction for our schooling. The reason why is everybody can't do, I want to say can't, but to force them to do regents and stay in the class, you're prepping them to take exams. I want them to learn. I want them to learn different things. You know what I mean? So I want us to be the freedom borough. And the rest of the city could do that stuff, but I want us to be the freedom county out of the whole city to do our own thing, but we have to come together. But again, going back to having the Bronx shut down every Friday, because that actually helps with you know, mentally. Again,
it's just a reset from like the hustle and the bustle and the grind, and it's
warm. And I also need to find ways so people who don't work in the Bronx, that live in the Bronx, can have some kind of pass to not go to their job somewhere else. Like it's mandatory federally, and they still could get paid without missing a day.
Yeah.
And also, too, I'm trying to get palm trees into this borough because it actually represents this borough as the people. The trunk is strong, but we're a vibe. We are our own little Miami. A little dingy right now, but we gonna get it. But those are spiritual trees, and I want to call them prayer trees. So I want Washingtonias. I want the Chinese windmills because that one lasts during the winter as well. These plants actually last during the winter when you do your research because they're in the desert and the temperature drops.
So they can sustain New York weather.
They can sustain it, and the Bronx has mostly swampland. We have good, rich soil. Also, too, this will provide jobs. It works with your mental health. How does it work with your mental health? You know how the tree works. You have to keep having it maintained. You're getting paid to do it. You end up love doing it because you're seeing your work on your block or on the highway. I do those trees, and I want it on the highway. I want it on our blocks. I want them everywhere because I want people to be gaslit, to be like, this is not the Bronx we know. Like, people want to come. Bronxites are happy that people are actually coming because we are a vibe, and Bronxites could actually show what they have to offer to the rest of the world, because this is the one borough everybody knows throughout the world. People know Brooklyn, but people know the Bronx. Even if you say it's dirty, I could say New Yorkers and Bronxites don't understand the beauty of this borough until you leave this borough. And people are like, oh my God, the Bronx, I want to go. I'm like, but we got dog crap, but they don't see that. My friend from Texas, he loves it here.
That was a good answer. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Last question for you. What advice would you give other men in the Bronx who might be struggling with their mental health?
Change your tribe. Leave, stop smoking with the same people. You gotta meet different people. Hell with them. They're gonna be on the block. They don't want to change their mind. They're gonna die on the block. You're not missing nothing exciting. Trust me, you're not. It's not their block. Y'all don't own the block. You have to set another tribe of open-minded people and be more diverse. You need to learn. That's your resource. You are the resource if you choose to be the resource. It's your mindset. I don't know what is so scary with leaving your niggas, because I had somebody actually tell me, it's me and my niggas. So he was trying to prove to me that he was straight, but it sounded more gay. And honestly, it is more gay if you're peer pressured to be around more men to prove that you're a man. I feel like that is spiritually homo. Listen, I'm gay. I don't even hang out with men like that either, because men are trifling even if they like the same sex. But you have to change your tribe. You have to be willing to learn from different people. You got to change your tribe of people, man. You got to really get out. You want to be stuck with people not doing nothing, not making money, power moves. Find out who you are spiritually, sexually. Find out who you are. Find out who the fuck you are. I'm going to say it again. Find out who you are. Who you sitting with is not who you are. All of y'all are not who y'all think y'all are at all. Because there's been men that shape-shifted because they had to leave their tribe. It's like, oh, this is me? And like, yep, see? That's you. That's really you. That's not you. Have you ever felt embarrassed when the elders or other people look at you weird when you're hanging out with your niggas and you like, they just hating until something happens and you start building your life up, and then people come to you and be like, I knew you was gonna change because you had to leave them. And you're like, wow, they seen it in me. Leave them. You can't save them. You may try to put them on, but once you start elevating, they're gonna envy you anyway, so it don't matter. Do you.
Thank you.
Love you also, too.
Drop some gems.
Hold on, this goes with mental health. You ready for this?
Go off.
Men, masturbate in the mirror. You know why? It may sound weird, but it helps love yourself. No, seriously. Masturbate in the mirror. The more you do it, my father taught me this, right? We're open. When you do that, you love yourself. You may be like, ew, that's gay. If you feel like looking at yourself, at your own body is gay, then there's a problem. That means you don't love yourself. And it's not nothing to do with gayness. You actually got to look at yourself, like dim the lights, do some candle moving, smoke a blunt, look at yourself, play with your booty hole. You gotta figure I'm telling you, because this sexually, you have to figure yourself out. How could you reach your own climax that you didn't even know you could reach? So even sexually, you're finding out, how to relieve yourself. Once you get that bomb-ass orgasm, you really feel like, oh, shit.
Instead of trying to be with multiple women.
I'm trying to find that spark. Because,
Yeah.
like, this coochie don't work. It's like, I know, because you got to do it yourself. Spark yourself. Turn in your interest.
We might need a pleasure episode. I'm just saying.
Look at your butthole. Play with it. It may sound gay, but it's not about being gay. Like, look at yourself. Do you look at yourself? You got to figure out, what does she see when she go back there sometimes? Or what she look? You got to look at yourself like that. Examine yourself. Like, oh wait, I got a pimple here. It smell like you got. Because some of y'all men just don't
go to the doctor. But that's another discussion for another day.
Yep.
Thank you, Perrin. Tell everyone where they can find you, where they can follow you on social media.
Well, my name is The Bronx is Beautiful. DA_BRONX Bronx _ beautiful. Or just type in my name, Perrin Lawton, PERRINLAWTON. You'll find me. I do tours of the Bronx. I do mostly the Northeast Bronx. I do Hunter's Island. I do the City Island tours. I do Van Cortlandt Park. I do the Underground Railroad ceremonies. I do the Bronx Slave Market. We got things here, and I'm also working hard to bring Disney to the Bronx. So,
whole historian right here. Thank you.
Yay.
All right.